Hello and welcome back to the recap where we look back at the weekend's results from the games that have happened across the European leagues. So let's get into it straight away with the European leagues and let's look at the WSL. And what a crazy weekend it has. We've had change at the top of the table in terms of fighting for the Champions League places and change at the bottom in terms of fighting for relegation. So as we said on the rundown on Friday, we had the big matchup between Arsenal and Manchester City, and it was a fantastic start for Gareth Taylor's Manchester City side, with Khadija Shaw scoring early on for them to give them that hope of putting on a good fight for Manchester United and trying to take over them potentially come the end of the season and get the title going to the blue side of Manchester. However, that didn't last all the way for the game as Arsenal grew into the game, and especially in the second half they looked more threatening and closing the press down better like they did against Bayern Munich last week. And then Frida Leonardson-Mornham scored just after an hour, and then 15 minutes from time, Katie McCabe with an absolute rocket of a goal for the side of our side to give them all 3 points for Arsenal, and it now moves them above Manchester City in the league up to third place, whilst Manchester City drop all the way down to fourth because of other results. Arsenal do have a game over Manchester City in hand, so that is also a good benefiting factor for them, that they can put a bit more gap in between themselves and Manchester City. I think it was a very key win for Arsenal. Again, both teams needing the win to have a good fight in the title, say, and I think if Arsenal had lost that, then it would have been a bit harder for them to try and stay in contact for the title run, but it is definitely not out of the question. And then you look into who they play after the international break and after just before the FA Cup weekend, they do have to face Manchester United. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Arsenal do go about the rest of their fixtures for the remainder of this season, and can they keep up that fight. Obviously Manchester City, for them it's not like they're completely out of the title fight. They can definitely still put up a fight with Arsenal, Manchester United and Chelsea, but the main factor for them is the goal difference. Everyone else has 28 plus goals in terms of goal difference, whilst Manchester City is only at 19. So that case, it is going to be harder for Manchester City to secure Champions League football if it comes down to goal difference, because they're obviously heavily reliant on Khadija Shaw scoring the goals this season, as has been the case, as she's one of the top scorers in the leagues. But at the same time, there have been games where they've been conceded more, and that is not where you want to be if you're trying to fight for the title or Champions League football. So let's have a look at the rest of the league. And Manchester United got off to the weekend after a fantastic start, beating Brighton and Hove Albion 4-0. Leah Galton scoring a brace, and then goals from Rachel Williams and Lucia Garcia off the bench, both having very big impactful games in recent weeks off the bench, and making it really tough for Mark Skinner to choose who should be starting and who should be coming off the bench. But that win for Manchester United keeps them at the top of the WSL table and fighting all the way with the rest of the clubs, as I previously mentioned. So heading into this international break, it's absolutely key that they stay there at the top of the table. Elsewhere, Chelsea won the evening game on Sunday against Aston Villa 3-0. Jelena Kankovic, Guru Wrighton and Sam Kerr notching up her 50th WSL goal got the win there for Emma Hayes' side. So big win for Chelsea as they moved into second place following Manchester City's defeat to Arsenal earlier on the Sunday. And obviously Chelsea, not like Arsenal, also have a game in hand over both Manchester sides. Again, they have a good goal difference there. They're the side with 28, where Manchester United and Arsenal do have the better goal difference with 30 and 37 respectively. The rest of the WSL, it was a big win for Leicester City, beating Reading 2-1. A late goal from Carrie Jones in the 95th minute has moved Leicester City off the bottom of the table and jumped ahead of Brighton, obviously following Brighton's defeat. But Brighton do have 2 games in hand over Leicester, so that is the worrying thing there for Willie Kirk's side. And then elsewhere, Everton beat Tottenham by 2-1, and West Ham versus Liverpool finished in a 0-0 result. So let's head over to the European leagues now, and Real Madrid got back to winning ways after beating Levante Las Palmas by 3-0, including a rocket of a goal from Caroline Moller-Hansen. Thoroughly worth checking out if you haven't seen it already. An absolute beautiful goal there. Elsewhere, Barcelona beat Alhama by 2-0. Atletico Madrid put 6 past Valencia in a 6-2 victory, and Sevilla put 4 past Alaves in a 4-2 victory. Over in the Frauen Bundesliga, now there's a couple of games called off due to the weather. However, the top 2 sides, Wolfsburg and Bayern Munich, got to winning ways. Table toppers, Bayern Munich beat Meppen by 2-0, and Wolfsburg put 8 past Werder Bremen. Over in France, and Lyon scored 7 themselves against Le Havre, whilst PSG managed to beat Bordeaux by 1-0 to keep up that title race in France. Over in Italy, and AS Roma beat AC Milan by 3-0 to secure playing Champions League football for a second consecutive season, and it's absolutely fantastic to see how good of a season they are having there in Italy. Other results see Sassuolo beat Pomigliano by 2-0, and Fiorentina beat Inter Milan by 1-0, and Como beat Parma by the same scoreline. And finally, over in the Netherlands, and what a weekend it was for Tessa Woolot and Fortuna Sittard, as she scored 5 of Fortuna Sittard's 7 goals as they beat Telstar by 7-1. Elsewhere, Ajax beat Heerenveen by 5-2. FC Twente beat Den Haag by 2-0. PEC Zwolle beat VV Alkmaar 1-0. and PSV versus Feyenoord finished in a 1-1 draw. So that is all the results from the European games this weekend, as we now head into the international break. Obviously, the big game and talking point over this next week will be England versus Brazil for the Finalissima. It's the first time that the women's Finalissima has ever been played, and as it's the winner of the European Championships and the winner of the Copa America from last year go battle at Wembley for the title, and then the rest of the games that will be taking place over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, are all going to be friendlies. So we'll be back with some more stuff to have a look back in, and if there's any more breaking news on the world of women's football. And obviously make sure you tune in tomorrow for NWSL Talk, where we have a look back at all the NWSL stuff from this past weekend. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to the channel with the post notification bell turned on, and that you're following us on Twitter and Instagram for all the latest news and stories as and when it happens. And in the meantime, we'll see you soon.